Um, and Actually, it's interesting that I was asked this topic because when I came to Chicago, I grew up in a family that was quite social. My parents were very social, and we would always have unexpected guests at our home, and we were expected to share our space, our room, with strangers, who were supposed to be my parents' friends. It was quite uncomfortable. I didn't appreciate it. So I made a vow for myself that when I get married, I'll grow older. I'll never be part of a huge community because I need my privacy. I'm happy with my small little world. Guess what? A few years down the lane, I meet my spiritual master, and he says that you need to live in a community. And I said, "Oh my God, I hate this." It was quite purifying. At that time, I really couldn't appreciate being in a community in such close proximity with other devotees. But today, after 20 years, I appreciate all that I went through, and it made me a person who I am today, and I'm still growing. I'm part of a larger community, and I don't have any regrets that I was part of a community, but had to go through a lot of pains, had to go through a lot of challenges. Few times I had to question whether I really want to be part of this community. There were times where I even questioned if I want to be I want to be an ISKCON member, because I couldn't find myself, or I couldn't identify myself as a member of an ISKCON community. So I had to go through that process. Today I can say I'm in a very, very comfortable space. And I'm not an expert on this topic, but I can share some of the things, what helped me, and what's helping me still to grow more deeper in my own Krishna consciousness and in my relationships. Made many mistakes, tried to learn through those mistakes. Many mistakes that I made, didn't even realize I've made those mistakes. So still trying to become aware of those mistakes. So it's all a process. Relationships is all about process of actually getting to know oneself and finding one's own identity in the community where we are living. So it's a lifelong process. It never stops because you're constantly evolving in your own personal life, and the community that's around you is also evolving. So it's quite dynamic. It keeps changing. Um, Relationships are actually the basic block or blocks of a community. And any community that doesn't have like healthy, dynamic, vibrant relationships, such a community is actually a community just in form, but not in spirit. The closest example I can think about is that of a soul. We have this body, it looks very, alive and functional and dynamic, but once the soul leaves the body has no meaning, has no function. Similarly, a community that is made of just people, but if their hearts are not in it, if they don't feel that they have meaningful relationship in those community that they belong to, then actually such a community is just in the form, they're a group of people who are coming together doing some group activity, but they don't feel nourished, they don't feel as if they're growing. And for a community to be dynamic, there are a lot of factors. There are many, many, many factors. Today, I'm going to focus on one particular aspect, and that is, what is our attitude? What is our internal attitude towards ourselves, towards our community, and coming to the position of self-awareness. Until unless that foundational journey doesn't happen, it's very it will be quite challenging, to be a productive member of a community. So I feel that generally you can put people in two categories, or maybe you can ask yourself, no, that would be better actually. You can ask yourself, am I an absent member of my community, or I am present? What I mean by absent is I'm part of this community, things are happening, and I go with the flow of things. I really don't pay much attention to what is being done, why is it being done, how can I contribute, how is it affecting me, does it affect me or not. You're just like, in one sense, going with the flow. Basically, somebody else is driving the ship and you're just there, and the waves are going up and down, and you're just experiencing that without actually pausing and asking, how is it affecting me, or do I want to how do I feel about it. Then there are a group of devotees who are quite present. They feel that, okay, I'm part of this community, and they're very conscious how the people in the community are affecting them, or how they can impact the community, how they can contribute to the community. So I would encourage all of you to ask yourself, hey, uh, and you guys are actually part of TSI, and also you're part of your local temple community, and then you're part of your school, larger community. So you have to ask, in each of these situations, how do you feel? Am I really present, or am I really an absent? Because that will help how you engage yourself in your life with other devotees or other people that you meet at work or in a school, or whatever the situation is. I made some notes for myself, so and I also, in my 20 years of being in such close proximity with devotees, something that I've observed is like, there are three categories of devotees. The first category is the kind of devotees who are very affective, which means they're very much in tune with their feelings, their emotions, and can very effectively, communicate what they're feeling and what they want. And generally, these people, these kind of devotees are quite introspective, and generally they are driven by the feeling of like gratefulness, gratitude. Gratitude is the driving principle for them. For such devotees, no matter what they experience, the ups and the downs, eventually what helps them transcend those situations is feeling grateful for what they've been also receiving. So that's one category of devotees. And then the second category is the kind of devotee who is, he or she is a critic. They very objectively, they kind of observe, they can appreciate what's nice, what they're receiving. And then there is, and they can also see like what's not working. So they can actually see what's happening. They're also quite introspective, and they can very objectively look at a situation and come up with some solutions, because okay, this is working, this is not working, I'm grateful for this and I don't like this, so what can I do, how can I find solutions? And the third category of devotees are those who are, I would say, the complainers, the people who complain, they whine. All they talk about is, this is not working, that is not working, but they will not contribute to the solution. It's not that these people are not wanting to be in a community. They want to be in a community, and that's why they're being critical. They want to be in a community, but they are not taking the responsibility of contributing. They expect somebody else to fix the problems and find solutions. So it's very important. It would be helpful if each one of you can actually ask yourself, where do I fit? And once you are aware of that, then it's very easy to, and I call this as a self-awareness process. And once that's very clear, then because until unless you don't know what your needs are, what is it that you want, it will be very difficult to see yourself being part of the bigger community. So the journey starts first with oneself, and then seeing yourself as part of the larger community. So should I pause here and invite devotees to ask questions, or there's a small part 2, I finished that, and then invite devotees for comments and questions? How do you guys want to do it?
I think we can do the part 2 because we have some questions.
Okay.
Come up with their question.
Yeah, the part 2 is I just have few questions that you can ask for yours once you have gone through this process of introspection and finding out where are you internally placed like where are you internally like what your internal attitude is, right? Once that's clear, then you can ask yourself the question, why am I in this community? That's a question each one of us has to ask. Why am I part of this ISKCON community? And I think for you guys, TSI is much easier to answer, but the bigger family, ISKCON, ask that question. And then you can ask yourself is, the next question you can ask is, would I like to be in this community? Does it inspire me to be in this community, or it doesn't inspire me to be in this community? And then ask why. Always why questions, say if you ask why question, it helps you understand a lot about yourself. And then the next question you can ask yourself is, what can I do for myself to feel spiritually and emotionally nourished and inspired in this community? And the fourth question you can ask is, what can this community do for me, or is this community doing anything to make me feel spiritually and emotionally nourished and inspired? And once you have answered these questions, you will realize that you can come up with creative solutions for yourself, so that you can be in a situation where you're inspired, you're happy, you feel that you're thriving, and that's what we are all looking for. And sometimes we don't feel that in our community. So we have to go through this journey of self-introspection. And at the end, we can ask ourselves, what can I do so I can balance my needs over the needs of the community? Because that's very important. Most times, devotees feel stressed out because when they feel that their personal needs are compromised over the needs of the community. And as managers, sometimes I'm a manager in an ISKCON temple, and as managers, the managers can think, oh, the need of the community is not so important because the individuals are just focused on their needs. Actually, both the situations are not very healthy situation, because we want to have a relationship with Krishna, and that's why we are in ISKCON. And so there is that need. But at the same time, we have other needs. We have social needs, we have emotional needs, psychological needs that also need to be, taken care of. So how do we balance this? So yeah, these were some of the questions, I wanted to share that I have asked in my own journey of, growing in my Krishna consciousness. Um, and I would like to hear your thoughts, comments, any questions.